Hello and welcome back to Currently Kent. Today there's a project got laid out in front of me. Going to be making some modifications to the front panel for the Phanteks Evolv X. Did a video previously grading from the micro ATX version into the full ATX version, and then also installed a custom water loop inside of that case in the video previous to this one. Done some testing. I'll put those up on the screen a little bit later so you can see the temperatures before and after making this modification. I was spending a good bit of time the other night working on the temperatures and looking at things I could do to potentially improve them. When I was doing the testing, the initial test was with everything just the way it is, a normal case, and then I did some further testing with the side panels all the way open, with the front panel off, with the dust filter off, basically an open case scenario. I did some testing with the side panels, the side glass panels closed and still having the front panel and the dust cover removed, and then finally did some more testing with everything put back together. My findings eventually led me to the root cause of the temperatures and them being a little higher than I would expect, given that it's a full custom loop. And here I have the front panel. The front panel being closed off the way, never mind the fingerprints. The front panel being closed off the way that it is, it doesn't allow any air to flow through it, obviously. And then also, we can see from this angle, they did make some attempts to get the front panel to sit a little further out so that way air could flow through. However, it didn't seem to work. Given all the testing that I did, it definitely concluded that this solid front panel was the reason I was seeing my water coolant temperatures go above 40 degrees Celsius and kind of continue pushing up in that direction. Not that that's entirely too horrible. However, it was about 5 or 6 degrees difference Celsius having the front panel removed. So I thought, I've seen some other people doing some modifications to this front panel, and so I would give it a go. Now, a couple things to mention: there are LED strips running all across the backside here, so that plays a little bit of a factor into the measurements and how things ended up coming out. What I spent my night doing last night was kind of measuring everything out and getting a pattern drawn up. This is my plan, is to follow this pattern right here. So everything's measured out and lined up. What I'm going to be doing is using a Dremel right here with some metal cutting attachments. After the metal has been cut, I've picked up a metal file that'll smooth the edges down and make everything not sharp to the touch, or not to where you're going to cut yourself when you touch it. And then picked up just some painter's tape. The painter's tape is going to provide a layer in which I can first of all draw on. I'm going to use a Sharpie just to mark things out where I need to be going. I'm going to use a drill bit. It's a metal drill bit, or metal cutting drill bit, that I picked up as well. And a couple of these here clamps just to keep everything situated, not flying around on me while I'm spinning a metal cutting disc at 25,000 RPM. Before I get started, I thought I should mention some of the personal protective equipment that I'll be using for this. Given that the panel is made out of aluminum and there are going to be very small shards of it flying all over the place while I'm cutting and sanding and doing all the work to it, protecting my eyes, I thought that would be a good idea. I like seeing and being able to see. That also in mind, I'm going to be using some earplugs to guard my ears. I'm wearing pants and shoes and socks, which is pretty abnormal for me when I'm at home. I'm almost always in shorts and flip-flops, but for this I will be wearing pants and then also some gloves, protect the hands there as well. Right now in the United States we have some worry about the coronavirus. So when I went to Home Depot to try to buy a face mask, they were all out and they had signs basically saying that they were limiting 10 per customer because people were just coming in and buying them by the case. So I've had to go a different route. I'm basically going to make kind of a take a page out of the Wild West book and use sort of a bandana to cover my nose and mouth, so that way I'm not breathing in any aluminum as well. Safety first, and we're gonna get started now. a couple days since I finished the initial cuts on the paneling, and I've been working since then to try to smooth all of the surfaces out so that way I don't, cut my finger on it as I'm running across it. Using these files, these metal files, picked up at the Home Depot, picked this one up today. This one is a round file, helps me get into the more circular portions there where the drill went through, and then have this triangular shaped metal file. This one was really good for getting all the flat surfaces, trying to make them all level and as smooth as possible. After filing away for a little while, there's been some pieces on the front side showing here where the bare aluminum is there and no longer has the original finish from Phanteks, so decided to go ahead and attempt a spray paint job on this. Got a recommendation from one of the maintenance guys that I work with to use a can of this Rust-Oleum flat protective enamel, and so we're going to do that now and see how this looks at the end. 24 hours later, and it looks like the adventure will continue. This is the end product from using the Rust-Oleum flat protective enamel in black on the front panel after making the modifications. So here's a pretty good little look at it there. And then for reference, here is what the stock paint job looks like from Phanteks, along with some of my fingerprints. So I think now the next step is going to be giving this the same treatment. So we're going to go ahead and do a disassembly of taking the air grates out of here, get this power button off the front, give this a quick coat and let it dry, and then be back with the final results of both of these two with the flat protective enamel. Here we have the before and after results from some benchmarking software. In the background, you'll see running Unigen Haven 4.0. Puts a decent amount of stress onto the graphics card so we can get the temperatures up. And I let the PC run and kind of normalize in temperature before even starting the test, and running these for about 15 minutes at a time to get an accurate representation of the temperatures over time. The number to concern yourself with is what's on the bottom, the coolant temperature there. On the left-hand side, I couldn't really replicate the temperatures I was seeing where it was getting over 40 degrees Celsius in this particular test, but rest assured it was. On the right-hand side, you'll see the after results from the airflow modification from the front panel to pretty well average out around about 34 degrees Celsius, resulting in a 6-degree difference before versus after. I think we can go ahead and call that a success. Just bear in mind that 5 degrees Celsius, a change in 5 degrees Celsius higher or lower is 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Just kind of give a little bit of frame of reference. So when we're talking about a relatively small number in Celsius, that does equate to quite a bit of a thermal change, even at just 5 degrees. So feel free to leave any questions you have about the process down in the comments below. And if you have any suggestions for future modifications to these panels or the overall build in general, go ahead and leave a comment down there. Leave a like before you go. Consider subscribing. Thank you all very much for watching. And